Welcome, everyone, to another episode of What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. We chase down the trends on this show. We want to know what's going on out there. We look into the businesses with the business owners. We look into the trends with the people that study the trends to try to find information that will help you and me be a little bit better at what it is that we do. If you can benefit from someone else's reaction to a trend that they talk about on this show, and it makes you a little bit better at your job, then it's well worth our time. If it makes you a little bit better as a parent, as a whatever, a congregant, then it's well worth the time. We're looking for trends. That's what it is that we do. And I'm always glad to find some that kind of surprise me. And here's a case in point. For example, this call comes in not long ago from a listener. And he says, "Hey, Cam, I got an idea for a show. You ever heard of a Barndominium?" No, my reply, no, never have. Barndominium, never heard of it. Well, go to this website, and he gave me the website, and you'll see a Barndominium. And if you like what you see, I'll introduce you to the guy. Maybe you can put him on the show. So I went to the website, and I looked into the Barndominium. I even Googled the word Barndominium, and it has its own Wikipedia page. I had never heard of it. I'm late to the game. I called the guy, who I'll have on the line here in a little bit. "Tell me about a Barndominium." He said, "Man, they're the newest thing. People that love their stuff, and their stuff largely floats or rolls, buy Barndominiums. They have a big barn, a big area under roof for mobile homes and or boats, and we build a house on the side of it. That, in its simplest term, is a Barndominium." "Well, who buys them?" I said. Well, the millennials are into them. They like experiences, so they don't want to be trapped owning a big, expensive home where they feel like they have to always maintain it. So a barndominium is a cheap place to live, and other people too. Millennials and other people. That would include everybody. So I look into it a little bit more, and these things are a for real thing, a barndominium. And there's an outfit here in South Alabama that is making them, and we're going to talk to him about this trend. Who builds them? What they're made out of? Who the customer is, what their intentions are, what is the resale value of a barndominium? Are these people that are obsessed with stuff? In other words, I got a big boat and I got a nice camper. That's my stuff, and I'm going to protect my stuff. Or do they see the world a little bit differently? You know, a couple of weeks ago, I interviewed a guy named Ed Bridgman, who was creating an RV community in the Fowl River area here in South Alabama, and talked to him about this. He said, "Cam, you're just unaware that there is this community out there. It's a very active and vibrant community. It's just not on your radar." And he did. He put it on my radar. Barndominiums might be the new thing. Now, as I look at the website and pictures of barndominiums, I have to say, honestly, they remind me a little bit of both the Eagles, the band, the Eagles, and cargo pants. No soul and ugly. But maybe there's something I don't know, and I'm hoping that's the case. And that's why I first started this show years ago is I got a lot of questions. I'm going to ask the people that know how to answer the questions what the answers are. And therefore, when we come back, I'll have John Quinnelly on the line. He's going to be teaching me about barndominiums, what they are, where they come from, how many he builds, what is the detail on them, who owns them, why do they own them versus a traditional home, and what are the upside to owning a barndominium. I'm excited, let's say, to learn what I don't know. Barndominiums. When we come back to What's Working, brought to you by Regions. I'm Cam Marston.
Think about how people really see you. The kid at the drive-thru just sees a coffee drinker.
Please pull forward.
Your local barista sees the person who loves a smiley face in their latte.
See you next time.
It's kind of the same way with insurance. Other insurance companies just see a customer, but a State Farm agent sees more. They see you as a neighbor. Your State Farm agent is here to get to know who you really are, so they can help life go right.
Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, in Mobile at 666-1616.
Even if we don't meet in person, Regions is still here for you. We make it easier for you to stay informed and in control with online and mobile banking. You can check balances, transfer money, pay bills, deposit checks with Regions Mobile Deposit, and even set up helpful alerts no matter where you are. We're here to make it easier to bank your way. Learn more at regions.com/tools. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
The best, most cost-efficient ways to talk to customers about who you are and what you do is through signs, simple, effective signs. Hi, I'm Cam Marston, host of What's Working. Signorama is the Mobile area's leader in helping you design and build signs advertising your business. What kinds? All kinds of signs, all kinds. Find Signorama on Facebook or at signorama-mobile.com. We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. On the line, I have the three people that are going to teach me about Barndominiums, where they came from, what they look like, how they're built, all of that. John Quinnelly Sr. is first. He started Valor Steel Buildings with partner Alan Ivey, who's also on the line, in 2012. They have manufactured and sell buildings in 12 states. Licensed general contractor in Alabama. Home builder's license in Mississippi and Florida, home builder's license in Alabama and Mississippi. John Gordon was, we'll go to Alan next. He's the partner in the business, a native of Enterprise, Alabama, lived in Mobile most of his life, draftsman for 25 years, avid runner, and I enjoy the beach. I love that as a part of your bio, Alan. You enjoy the beach, long walks on the beach and sunsets and porpoises. Gary Gordon started Gordon Construction in 2007, licensed Alabama home builder, 25 years experience in all phases of construction, proud father of 3 children. We'll talk about each of the personal lives as we go along. Gary, Alan, and John, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for pulling over on the side of the road to participate in this interview. Welcome to What's Working.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, sir.
It's tough to get 3 people on the line. It's tough to get 4 people's schedules coordinated that we can all do this. So I appreciate the sacrifices that you all have made to be a part of the show. John, let's start with you. What is a barndominium and where did these things originate?
Well, a barndominium is something that originated out in Texas, and basically what it is people. They have a lot of things. They have a lot of toys. They have RVs and boats and cars and trucks and toys and things like that. And they want all of those things in one spot. And then they want to have, their house in the same spot. So combining all those things into one structure is what's really gravitating everybody to a barndominium. It's what I call barndominiums, but it's also been called all-in-ones, where you can have all of your toys under one roof and your house underneath one roof. So a concept that started in Texas, but is super popular and is making its way to Alabama, and we've done a bunch.
So these people that own barndominiums are, is it safe to say, big into their big toys? You're not going to see a barndominium. A barndominium, by its very nature, is a large structure that can hold large toys. Is that correct?
Yeah, very much so. I've got a customer that he lived in Timber Creek, so he's lived in a super beautiful home, and he has I think it's a $1.5 million Tifton RV. He collects hot rods. He's just got a lot of toys. And so he was renting storage for all of these toys and, living where he lives. And he said, look, I just want everything under roof. I want to jump in my RV when I feel like it. I want to travel when I want to. The last thing I want to worry about is if my house is going to blow away or anything. So I just want to come back for doctor visits and birthdays, but I want to stay on the road, and I want everything under roof, and I want my life simple, and I don't want to die in debt. I want to, I want everything under roof, and we've been able to do that for him.
Alan, let's get you involved in this thing. Where are the barndominiums being built? I don't see them in suburban Mobile where I travel. I don't see them. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't know what they look like. Maybe they're disguised as something different. But where are these being built? My assumption is they're kind of on the outskirts of town where you'll see more new construction and where things of this size can be built on a cheaper piece of land. Is that right?
That's absolutely right, Cam. We found that a lot of these barndominiums are being built in the county areas, more rural areas. I don't know if it's a tax benefit or just a better availability of land, or maybe the building permits aren't as stringent as they are in a city or a municipality. But yeah, the majority of these barndominiums are in the county.
So they're outside of town a little bit. And are they designed to look like a home? Are they designed to look more like a storage unit? And you would be surprised as you step through the door to find a home in there.
That's right. For all intents and purposes, they do look like a metal building, but we have we can do various put aesthetics on it, such as the customer can do brick or siding to make it more of a residential feel. But yes, it's a metal building, but there are some things we can do to not make it look so industrial, I guess, or commercial.
Yeah. Hey, Gary, I note on your bio that you and your wife own Driftwood RV Park in Fairhope. We actually interviewed a guy named Ed Bridgman for the show who's starting Homestead RV Community in the, Foul River area. Apparently, this world of the RV is a place that I don't know much about, and I'm learning more and more quickly that this is a significant lifestyle component for lots of folks out there. So you're in the barndominium business with these guys, but you also own an RV park. Give me your point of view on this type of thing.
Yes, sir. RVing's become a huge deal of late. Lots of people are retiring. They're either buying a super nice RV and just parking at RV park and living, or to touch on what John and Alan both said, they're building these barndominiums, and they've got a spot they can back an RV up in. They've got a house up front, and they can just take off whenever they want to. And when they come back, they can park it, and they're in their house. They don't have to put it in a separate spot. They don't have to store it. But yeah, RVing is a huge deal right now. Lots of people that are retired. The reason they're doing these barndominiums is that, like John said, they're living in houses, but they have other things. So they've been retired for several years. These barndominiums are basically their last home. They're building them. They're keeping all their stuff there. They're putting an extra bedroom or two on there in case their kids come in from school or people come visit. They've got a spot for them. We're putting hookups in these barndominiums to where the RV can be functional while it's sitting there. So if they have guests, they have a whole nother, basically an apartment for people to stay in.
Interesting. So the RV can become an apartment under the roof of the barndominium for overflow purposes, for lack of a better term. So if you're walking around your Driftwood RV park and you're talking to the guests, the people that are parked there, how many of them have a barndominium back home? Is it the majority?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily with our park, but some people do. Like the ones that come from up north, we have several people that come every November and stay till April. And when they go home, they have places to put them. But these people are in talks with us about moving down here. Everybody wants to live in South Alabama. And when they do, they're going and checking out. I've had 3 people from the park come and look at our projects just to see how it goes. And now they're looking for property.
Yeah. You're telling them, aren't you, Gary, that South Alabama is full and that we are not taking new people, right? Are you telling them that this quality of life that you and I have kept as a secret for our entire lives is not?
I'm very selective in who I tell.
There you go. Appreciate that. Yeah. That's what Fairhope has become. It's people that come down here to kick the tires and they never leave. And thank God for some of them. All right, let's get back to the focus here. John, is there a trade association that you're familiar with where barndominiums are the topic of discussion? Perhaps it's a committee within a trade association, or is there an entire trade association that focuses on barndominiums that you're aware of? And are they projecting, what kind of growth are they projecting on this thing?
Well, I think what most people do is everybody's friend is Pinterest. And, you find so many people that are getting on Pinterest and seeing what metal buildings can look like. And, going back to what Alan was saying, when you think of a metal building, you just think of a traditional metal building, but there's so much product that you can put on a metal building, whether it's stucco or vinyl or wood or brick. And you literally, with metal roofing being as popular as it is today, you literally, as you pull up, you don't know that it's a steel structure. You don't know that it's a metal building. And then when you walk inside, it's like any other traditional build. What's nice about a metal building is you have no load-bearing walls. So in other words, if we built you a 40 wide, 50 wide, 60 wide structure, you literally have no load-bearing walls. So your wife can have her walk-in closet as to be the biggest room in the house, if that's what mama wants to have. Or you can have a huge living room, you really just have a free run to take the inside of these buildings and dream your floor plan as you see fit.
How much of your work today is building the Barndominiums versus the traditional metal buildings that I see in my head that are often used as barns, as storage units, as a warehousing space? What is the percentage of your work is the Barndominium?
I would say probably 40%. And you have kind of a hybrid of what people want to do. They'll either build a Barndominium or steel frame home completely like that, or you'll have someone that says, look, I'd like to have a shop and an apartment inside. There's just an array of customers that are doing this, whether they're retired and just want to travel, or we had a customer, her and her husband came in, and we did a project with them, and they finished out the inside themselves to try to save money and what have you, but they did an excellent job, and it's beautiful. But they had a different floor plan, a different look, and that's what's really nice about a metal building, is that you can have you can have the porches, you can have the things that you want in a traditional build, just like you can in a metal building, and we make it look good.
When we come back from break, I want to talk about the customer. We've learned a little bit, and you've mentioned retired a couple of times. I'm curious if this is going to be a trend in the younger generation as well, who claim much more demand for experiences than possessions. And it seems like a Barndominium would facilitate more experiences. Let's talk about that when we come back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. On the line, John Quinnelly Sr. and Alan Ivy, partners in Valor Steel Buildings, and Gary Gordon. Started Gordon Construction in 2007, the construction arm of Valor Steel. We'll be right back after this break. This is Cam Marston, host of What's Working. Jim Mitchell and his team at Signorama have provided all types of signage for nearly every event I've been a part of for years. I know his team's creativity, their multitude of products, and how easy they are to work with. His No Mistake Signorama is South Alabama's marketplace leader. Find Signorama on Facebook, call 634-0100, or visit next to Mullinex Ford on Airport Boulevard.
I'm Matt Armbruster with Ransom Ministries. We help people in our community that most others have given up on. Please donate your unwanted electronics to Ransom Recycling. We teach life skills, job readiness, and job creation through our electronic recycling program. We take anything with a cord. Find us at ransomministries.com, or you can call us at 251-751-0044.
Human Resource Department speaks on insurance billing mistakes, Obamacare rules, and compliance. Employee benefits serve the purpose of recruiting, retaining, and rewarding employees. We can handle all of your benefit needs with cost-effective products, employee enrollments, and handle your HR issues. It doesn't have to be complicated. My name is Michael Cowart Jr. of the Cowart Group, and we specialize in helping businesses with their employee benefit packages. Visit CowartAssociates.com.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. On the line with me, three men in our area that are making something called a Barndominium, and apparently making a lot of them. Now, I freely admit that there are a lot of things going on out there that I don't know about that frankly surprise me when I learn about them. And at this moment, this one's at the top of the list. I was unaware of the term barndominium till it was brought to my attention. And now I found a construction company that's making a bunch of them for people all over the area. Two groups that are making a bunch of them. On the line with me, John Quinnelly Sr., Valor Steel Buildings, partner Alan Ivy in the same business, and Gary Gordon of Gordon Construction. Gentlemen, let's talk about the customer here. You've mentioned a number of times that your customer is a retired individual who has toys. We've mentioned RVs and boats thus far. But what I read about the youngest generation out there that could be your customer, called the millennials, is that they are an experience-seeking generation. Possessions are not nearly as important as the experiences they can gain. So a barndominium would allow them to shelter the toys through which they gain these invaluable experiences. An RV, a boat, perhaps some four-wheelers or something like that. Who is your customer? Is it only the retired folks, or are there others showing up as well?
Our customer base is probably 30 and above, and we have families that have bought barndominiums from us. We have, really an array of people, but it's really the barndominium community. Are people who have a lot of toys like four-wheelers and wave runners and boats and RVs and hot rods. That's our customer base. People want to, when they're home, they want to work on their hot rod, but they don't want to go out to a place that they've rented, or if they've got their RV and they're planning a trip, they'd like to have their RV there so that they can load it and just be able to have it there, everything there in one spot. And it's a neat concept that we're offering.
So you've mentioned they're 30 and above. Is your youngest customer 30? Gary, tell me about your youngest customer. Is he or she a couple? Is it a single? I want to know who you're building for.
I'm both. Actually, one of the guys that got this started was single whenever he built this thing. He wanted a 40 by 100 building to put an office/apartment up front. Then he started a business, and he wanted to keep certain things, and also his tractor and RV in one end. And then you've just got couples. Like I said, some people are getting finished working. The husband is done and retired. The wife's still working, but they're still trying to figure it out. But to go back to your question, as far as the age goes, the problem we're having, it's not a problem for us, but most customers are cash customers, and they're coming up with the liquid to pay for these things. And once we get the bank involved, the customer base could be from 18 to 70. It's just these things, people are building them and they're living in them and they're staying. So until there can be a comp in the area on one that's sold, which isn't likely to happen, or we can get the banks on these things, which we've started. We've got 3 of them financed right now. But once that gets going, because people of all ages ask about these things all the time.
Yeah.
And they are, I wouldn't say significantly, but they are cheap enough than a conventional home to where people are starting to want them.
So they're cheap enough that people are getting into them. They're a little bit cheaper. Now, let's ask a question that's very regionally driven. We're sitting here in South Alabama on the banks of, or right next to Mobile Bay. We are in Hurricane Central. One of the reasons I like the house that I'm in right now in my home studio is that it is brick, and those hurricanes tend to struggle against brick. How would a barndominium hold up? How would any steel building, particularly one that you live in, hold up when the hurricanes roll through?
As far as the barndominiums or the structures that we build, our wind speeds is what dictates what we do. So the shell of the building, if you will, the metal part of it, is rated for 140, 50, 60 mile per hour wind speeds, depending on where it's going to be built at. The fact that you're going to be putting brick or anything on the outside of this product, you're not giving up any, giving up any strength in our structure. You're adding aesthetics to it. So, in a metal building, barndominium world, you're entering in a world that, our structures don't burn. Termites would starve. It doesn't rot, mildew. none of the things that traditionally, like other homes would have problems with. So as far as strength and longevity, that's why I think barndominiums are doing so well and are gaining more popularity, is because you don't have to worry about the things that you normally would worry about in a normal home.
I was going to ask you about termites, and you answered that question. There's nothing for them to eat. Am I thinking correctly? Is there any wood at all involved in the structure of this thing?
Gary, I'll let you answer that question.
You got it. So, Tim, what we do is John and Alan come in and construct the building, and it's all concrete, slab, and steel with metal sheathing on the outside and the roof. So once they're done, we get the foundation sprayed for termites always, no matter what kind of building it is. And then we come in and we frame all the interior up with wood. We frame up wood walls, we stand them up against it, and we just frame out a ceiling. Whatever floor plan the customer desires, we do. So the outside is steel, the slab is sprayed for termites, but the inside is wood, because you have to have wood to hang drywall and all.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Mm-hmm. But it also gives you the total benefit is when they put the building up, it's insulated. R19 on the roof, R13 on the walls. Then when we frame the inside, which is what we call the envelope, we re-insulate it. We insulate the walls on the interior, and then we insulate the ceiling also. So your energy efficiency is crazy.
Crazy. Alan, let's get you involved in here. Do you think this is the way forward? Do you think this, what we're calling the barndominium, is eventually going to be called home? And in my neighborhood, wherever I live, wherever any of the listeners live, we're going to see things that once we had looked at sideways, starting to become a regular part of new construction in suburbia. Is this the way forward?
I really hope it is, Cam. I foresee maybe a time in the future where, and I'll touch on what Gary had said before of how economical this is in comparison to a traditional build. I've often thought about entire neighborhoods built on the same premise of a steel building, concept, and look forward to it. I hope we're around to see that happen. But yeah, I believe it is kind of the next step in home building. It's certainly economical, very easy to build, a lot quicker than a traditional build for the home. So yeah, absolutely. I do think that.
Alan, I know your background is in drafting and AutoCAD. Have you worked with any architects getting involved in the design and construction of barndominiums yet? What are their thoughts?
Yeah, they're absolutely for it. We have several customers that had gone to an architect before they even talked to us, and the architect had pushed them toward our company, saying, "Hey, have you thought about Ballard Steel? They're into these barndominiums." So there's a couple of architects we've worked with that are really excited about the design, and so yeah, absolutely. We talked to several.
It seems like they can perhaps do more things with this steel building design than they could on a traditional design, which makes me very interested in what a new home could look like if the restrictions of traditional home building have been somewhat removed. It's very exciting. But if I understand you, there are very few comps in the marketplace. I think it was you that said that, Gary. Very few comps in the marketplace for people to understand how they retain value. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Just people. We haven't had one sell. I mean, we're building them, but the people are staying in them. So the comps are very few. But the reason people are doing this is to talk about the price factor. I mean, from a conventional home to one of these, I mean, you're talking about 30%. I mean, that's a pretty good chunk of change.
Let me make sure I understand that correctly. Building a barndominium versus a traditional home is 30% less expensive.
Yes, sir.
So if I were to build a 5,000 square foot, a 3,000 square foot home, traditional, stick in brick or whatever it may be, versus the barndominium, it's going to be 30% cheaper and still have, I'm not losing any of the features that this is not my world that you guys are in, so I'm a stranger to it. I'm not going to lose any of the features and creature comforts that I've gotten used to in my home in the barndominium, yeah?
None. The inside of it is going to look just like a traditional home. When you walk in the front door, and we're putting regular conventional house front doors on these things, windows and everything. And when you walk in, there's nothing different. You've got your nice big kitchen, custom cabinets, granite, quartz, whatever you want, tile showers. Just the same thing. We're putting fireplaces in them. We just finished one where we did both porches. We did tongue and groove pine on the porches, screened in the back porch. This particular one actually had soffits, so it looked, just like a home. Just all with the next one we're doing right now, we're putting stone on the front, stone in the columns. Just a real nice feature. Everybody has a different taste.
The image I had in my head prior to getting you, three of you on the phone, was of a remarkably nice storage space with a home crammed to the side of it. I'm beginning to realize this is a storage place and a beautiful home. It is not the home is not second fiddle to the barn portion of the barndominium. Am I right?
Yes, sir. I would tell you this. What's really nice about a barndominium is that, the husband can have his man cave outside in his shop and work on all of his toys, his hot rods and things like that. And the wife can have exactly the way she wants it on the inside. And it's two worlds coming together. The thing you mentioned, architectural, it's really nice to have the architectural spin on what we do when you apply different types of product. It's nice to see metal, wood, brick. The more architectural that's being put on these buildings, it's so much nicer than just a traditional build. The other thing I like about it is when you mentioned on the inside, going back to the total clear span, we're able to span with a total I-beam system and not have any load-bearing walls.
Yeah.
You can, at that point in time, you can decide to have an all-steel structure. You can have drywall studs on the inside of the building and have a total steel structure that termites would absolutely starve.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty neat concept.
John Quinnelly Sr. and Alan Ivy are partners in Valor Steel. They're telling me about Barndominiums. They work with Gary Gordon of Gordon Construction to erect these things. When we come back from break, gentlemen, I want to talk about the size of these things. My suspicion is that when people build them, they regret not building them larger. I very seldom see storage spaces where people say, I have all the room that I need. And we'll see if that's been the case or not. Folks, you're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. This is brought to you by Regions. We'll be right back.
Life insurance is one of those subjects that make people want to change the subject rather than admit they probably don't have enough. I'm State Farm agent Allison Horner, and that's why I focus on how the benefits of life insurance actually live on by asking people to think in terms of life without having to sell the house insurance, or life without having to give up college insurance. Find out how the benefits of life insurance can live on for your family. Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, and get to a better state with State Farm.
That's the sound of rush hour. Hello, recess.
Mom!
Work from home is a lot of work. Even though we're a little further apart right now, we're still in this together. Regions is donating this ad to local food banks to shine a light on them as they feed our neighbors in need. Learn how you can help or get help at regions.com/foodbank. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
I'm David Nelson, brewmaster and owner of Braided River Brewing. We want beer that goes along no matter where the adventure takes us and that doesn't make us choose between great beer and drinkability. We're drawn to the Delta and united by beer because to us, the best way to celebrate the Delta is to slow down and savor the moments and the beer together. Come visit our tap room in downtown Mobile and ask for us at your favorite bar or restaurant. Visit online at braidedriverbrewing.com.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. And gentlemen, prior to the break, I was asking you about the size of these structures. Now, I'll give you my quick story. And I'll give you the gun safe. That's the one that I use most frequently. When I started shopping for gun safes for my home, I looked at this thing in the showroom and said, well, this is giant. I'll never need anything larger than this. I can grow into it. And with a short amount of time, I found out so much stuff that I needed to put into the safe that it's quickly become full, and I wish I had bought a larger one. I'm curious if you guys experience this same in your construction, where people say this is plenty of space, but they come back and say, dang it, I should have asked them to build me a larger one. Is that the case? John, why don't you take that? I need to call you guys by name because you're all so polite waiting for somebody else to talk. John.
It is. We can, I think we could build 10,000 square feet and somebody would fill it up. It's never enough. It goes in different stages. When we start to build it, they always think, wow, this thing is huge. And then as Gary starts to build the inside, then it gets smaller.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things where we just currently built one. I think it's a 60 by 100, or 60 by 80, I think. It houses his RV. It houses all of his toys, and it has, an inside house inside of it. So you're talking, 2,400 square feet of living space, and anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 square feet of toy space. So it's neat to see what the customers have come in and with their floor plan, and to mix those two together and have those two things to come together on a floor plan is really neat.
So in the South Alabama area where we live, I understand that these things are being built mostly in the county areas, not in the central cities, the older suburban neighborhoods. Where would I go in the nation right now where seeing these things would be absolutely commonplace? Is this a Florida phenomenon? I know they originated in Texas, but if I were driving through Dallas, would I see these things all over the place?
They have neighborhoods. We have a client right now that's building one in Fairhope in the county, and he is from Texas, and that's where he got the idea. He passes them every day, and he wants to retire here, and he lives in the Austin area, maybe.
Yeah.
And he said they're all over. They're all over, and they're out. His wife actually works with the bank, and they're out there financing them, building them. Like John was talking about earlier, and Alan too, about putting different siding and stuff on them, putting bricks and everything, and making them look more like a home.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think this is likely something we'll continue. Let me ask you this: do you see these on the waterfront? Are these is this something I would see on Dauphin Island or in Gulf Shores? It seems like it would be a prudent idea for a waterfront home or something. A waterfront home. They have a high hurricane rating. A lot of the mildew issues, let's say, wouldn't impact them the same way. Have you built one on the waterfront yet?
Well, I can answer that one. I own a piece of property on 2nd Avenue in Gulf Shores, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Talking with the building officials down there, they're like, wow, this would be awesome to see, because as the wind speeds increase and the insurance companies are expecting more, wood's not going to be able to meet that demand as far as strength is concerned. So it's a welcome from the building inspection office. It's a welcome industry, welcome thought.
Yeah, I would suspect that it's going to catch on like it sounds to have in many different places. So let's say this. Let's wrap this thing up. This has been fascinating. What is the thing that surprised you the most when you first learned about Barndominiums that you think would surprise the listeners once they were to step into one, they were to price one, they were to look at one for themselves? What surprised you the most? What would surprise the listeners most? Alan, let's start with you.
Just the sheer price. I mean, that you're saving 30%, in some cases even more, that they just had no idea. They never even fathom that they could save 30% on an entire build by simply, utilizing a steel building structure. I think we could really get a lot of, wow, this is a great price. I priced out a conventional stick-built home, and I just can't believe. Are you sure their price is right?
Right.
So, yeah, I get that a lot. Is the price.
The sticker shock in a good way.
Yeah, exactly.
Reverse sticker shock. Gary, what would surprise people the most?
The functionality. I mean, people, they have no idea when they first start talking to Alan or John or myself, just depending on who they get to first. They don't understand that they can have a living quarters. Like, put it to you this way. I spoke to a lady yesterday who wants to put a horse stable on one side. She wants to have 4 stalls, a wash area, and whatever you do with horses. And she wants to have a space between that and then have the living quarters up front, but have it all under one roof.
Yeah.
And she couldn't believe we could do that.
Why not? Why not? Horse people are crazy to begin with, but suddenly their crazy requests are becoming real. Hey, John, what is going to surprise people the most about the Barndominium world?
I think the way that we do it, as far as the way it looks, it's. I think we offer a really unique capability. So when they look at what Gary can do and what we have done, the whole idea is it's not just like a typical metal building. It's it's really something nice, and what we're able to bring to the community. People are amazed at how they look.
It sounds like this, What's Working with Cam Marston is a show that focuses on and tries to uncover the trends that are shaping businesses of all sorts. Undoubtedly, this is a trend that is beginning to shape our community here. It sounds like it's well caught on in other places, and I'm excited to see this happen. I do think it's important that many of the things that you guys are building are retirement homes from people from other places. And therefore, the overrunning of our people, the people that put the brakes on as they go through the tunnel, is largely your fault.
Yeah, that was good timing.
But just know that you guys have identified yourself in the community, and the upside is a lot of new business. The downside is the responsibility for the change that you've created around here. So, again, I'm kidding. Gentlemen, I think you're on to a great idea. You don't need me to tell you that. Your business tells you that, and your busyness tells you that. And I appreciate the time. This has been fascinating. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, the best of luck to you guys. I will be looking now with new lenses to check these things out and appreciate them in a new way. Folks, you're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. This is brought to you by Regions. I'll have final comments in a moment.
Do you sometimes wonder about different money topics, but struggle to find the answers? The Every Dollar Counts podcast with Gulf Coast experts Josh Knoll and Jay Stubbs is made for those folks serious about their financial plan and looking for answers. Josh and Jay dedicate their time to explaining the various services and products available, as well as discussing lifestyle and money interests of the modern-day family. Tune in to Every Dollar Counts on Apple Podcasts and everywhere else you get your favorite podcasts.
What's Working with Cam Marston is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer. Stella Artois is a perfect beer for celebration. Nothing caps off a big sale, hitting your incentive goals, or a profitable quarter like a round of Stella's. Brewed first in 1708 as a special Christmas brew, today Stella is a gift for everyone to enjoy year-round. Stella Artois. Find it wherever fine beer is sold.
The best, most cost-efficient ways to talk to customers about who you are and what you do is through signs, simple, effective signs. Hi, I'm Cam Marston, host of What's Working. Signorama is the Mobile area's leader in helping you design and build signs advertising your business. What kinds? All kinds of signs, all kinds. Find Signorama on Facebook or at signorama-mobile.com.
Do you have a plan to protect your income if you can't work? We'd all like to believe that we'll never be disabled, but the reality is it could happen to you. And if it does, will your income be protected, your family be cared for? Richard Otts has served the Gulf Coast since 1997. If you'd like more information about disability insurance, contact Richard 251-342-8917. That's 251-342-8917.
Welcome back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. So, Barndominiums. If you're like me, I had never heard of these things before. And once I had met these guys and begun talking to them about this show and what it is that they were doing, and I'd been online to examine Barndominiums to feel like I knew what I was talking about prior to getting them on the show, I began to realize this is yet another thing where I'm late to the game. Somehow this fascinating trend of Barndominiums has already caught the attention of my peers and my colleagues, and they were speaking about it like this is old hat, where I had just learned about it. And I'll be interested to see the first house in what I guess we would call a traditional neighborhood, or let's say an urban neighborhood that is put up Barndominium style. It may already be out there, but it's hard to argue with 30% less expensive construction and so many other options in creating the home that a traditional stick and stone structure, a stick and brick structure may offer. It's hard to argue with something like that, particularly, and gosh knows, we had a termite scare around our house this past spring as they started falling out of vents in the kitchen. The termites began coming out of vents in the kitchen. I thought, oh no. Oh no. My wife and I had already decided that we're finding the termite bond and we're trying to make sure it's still accurate. We're going through an absolute, I don't know what it was, fire drill with the termites coming out of this thing, pretty much sure that the house is destroyed and trying to figure out alternative living arrangements for the next year or two as the house gets fixed, only to learn that it was a swarm that had nothing to do in our house. They just kind of found their way in. But the Barndominium doesn't have anything for a termite to eat, from what these guys said, and that would be very valuable to me. So as we record this final segment here in the environment out there, the What's Working show can't help but acknowledge the big conversation that continues in our society right now, and that is COVID. My goodness. Honestly, I don't know what to think about this. I've had almost enough of hearing about it, but at the same time, I feel like I'm negligent of what's going on in our world around us if I don't pay attention to what the scientists are saying, regardless of which side this political divide they're on, or people are saying they're on. I feel like I don't know what to believe, but it's omnipresent in front of us. Are the masks working? Are the masks ridiculous? Should we all take the masks off and go ahead and get it? It's an eventuality anyway. A doctor I know gave me this analogy not long ago. It's like a tiger in the jungle that's stalking you. It's gonna get you. It's going to get you. You don't have the ability to beat it. This is its natural habitat, and it's going to get you. Just how long you go before it gets you is the question. And as I record this, all the school systems are discussing when and how and under what circumstances to open. The athletic calendars are being considered. Will my children, I got 2 playing football and 2 playing volleyball in high school, or grade school and high school, will they be able to play? All these decisions and the implications, the trickle-ons from those decisions of if they don't play football, then these people don't work, then these people don't work. And that's at a local level. And I know I'm not saying anything that's, brilliant here. We've all gone through this. You've heard this before. But at a national level, at a state, let's say collegiate and then professional level, these sports franchises employ a lot of people, whether directly or indirectly. And that's a big decision to make. And I've decided to absolve myself from having an opinion on this thing and just simply react. Otherwise, I could get spun up into a knot about what to do. There are no easy decisions to be made. And I've just tried to kind of throw my hands up and say, rather than try to get spin up into a knot or allow myself to get spin up into a knot about what I think and who's telling the truth and stuff like that, I'm just going to react to the decisions that are made and stay focused on what's in front of me and what I can control. That's one of the pieces of advice that we've heard over and over from different people about how to get through this COVID environment is focus on what it is that you can control. Speaking of which, in my world, the seminar and workshop business that has employed me gainfully for the past 20 years, as you can imagine, has nearly evaporated. We've got a couple of webinars upcoming, and I know I've mentioned this on this show before, but the webinars are fewer than the live presentations are. The topic matter, which I have the expertise in, the demographics of the workplace or the workforce, has become less germane to today's COVID economy. And the people that are teaching leadership and personal discipline skills, things like that, and particularly due to the extraordinary Black Lives Matter movement, all the diversity and inclusion specialists, they can't stop working. They can't stop. And I envy them in so many ways. I did have a guy call me not long ago and said, Cam, do you do any sort of diversity presentations? And I'm like, listen, I wish I did. But a middle-aged, overweight, thinning-haired white guy talking about diversity doesn't land very well, quite frankly. We are not the go-to source for this commentary. We're largely left on the sidelines in that dialogue, and that's certainly my case, and I harbor no bitter thoughts about it. It's just the way things are. I get it. But the reason I say this is that some of the conferences that I had in March that were pushed to early summer, that were then pushed to late summer, that were then pushed to late fall, are now rescheduling for March of 2021. They've pushed them back an entire year. I'm grateful none of them have canceled. It means cash flow next year. However, it's a scramble between now and then. And I know I'm not alone. I know there's somebody out there listening that is wondering the same thing. One of the neighbors in my offices, he stopped by, tapped on the door, and talked about his challenges. And his is a little bit different from mine, but that is something that's weighing on us all. And every resource that I have, every dollar that I've saved is suddenly in play for how are we going to make this through until the cash flow begins again. In the meantime, how am I going to reinvent myself and the products that I offer my clients in such a way that they need them now? For years, I've thought I need a rebranding. I've been under this stagnant brand, or this brand has represented me well, but it has grown stagnant over the years, and it's time for a rebranding. And there's no better time than the present to begin that process. And we have begun. It's an expensive and arduous process in a time where cash flow is tight, but we have begun. So the COVID economy still weighs on us all. I wish I could stop thinking about it. I wish I could stop talking about it. I've decided not to get spun up in knots about it, but I am continuing to have to react to it and to change the things that I can do. One of those things that hopefully you will see soon is the Keeping It Real commentaries that I've been doing for public radio for the past 3 years. We've decided to put them on video and try to bring them to the television market. That is something that I can control, and have spent a big part of this week doing that to see if this will be a part of the new branding effort. If you're curious what that looks like, find Keeping It Real on Facebook. Look for my name, and you can track that. They're humorous, insightful, fun commentaries that are truly a release for me. I enjoy doing them. They're an escape, and hopefully you'll begin seeing them on television somewhere. All right. Special thanks to John Thompson, show's producer with Eye on Digital. Special thanks to Kristen Ogden. Kristen does a remarkable amount of heavy lifting, marrying all these different calendars to get these interviews in place. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. Have a good week, everybody. I'll talk to you next week.